Hey, Unstuckers. Josh here, as joined every week by my co-host, Chel. Say what's up, Chel.
What's up, Unstuckers?
We are back for a very special casual Friday. We are joined by guests of podcast episode past on the last episode of the year for the Unstuck Institute. We are joined by Josh Schachnow, otherwise and henceforth known as Canadian Josh. We are joined by Sophia Sunwoo, and we are joined by Ellen. Oh my gosh, I lost your last name in my head.
Goodwin.
Goodwin. I just totally, like, in my head went Ellen Page, and I was like, wait. And then I couldn't get out of it. Sorry, Ellen. Welcome, Ellen, as well. So we're going to do our first ever Unstuck round table. We're going to talk about the new year and stuff like that. How we're looking at planning our own New Year's, what we recommend for people who are looking forward to their own New Year's and their businesses, and making 2021 as great as it can be. But first, of course, we got a little bit of business to do. So, Chel, let's just do a super quick check-in on what we said we'd do last week. So, Chel, what was it that you were supposed to do?
Yeah, definitely. Plan out the next couple of weeks going into the new year, and I have done so. So I have kind of more of a solidified email campaign that I want to launch at the beginning of the new year, and I know the steps that I need to do over the next couple of weeks to get me there.
Excellent. All right. And on that, I will not be donating your money to the National Riffle Association.
Excellent.
And you will not be donating my money to the American Nazi Party this week because I said I would take a course of my choosing of the 5 courses I had to take. And I chose Donald Miller's How to Grow from Zero to $10 Million Business. And it was very good, very informative, and kind of basic, I would say. So if you are out there listening and you're thinking, I'm just starting out, and I want some basic ideas to follow, it was really excellently laid out and didn't take too much time. So I'd recommend that one. It came free with his book that I pre-ordered, so I think it's a cheap course if you don't order his book. So there you go, free advertising for Donald Miller.
You're welcome, Donnie.
You're welcome, Johnny. All right, so that's our check-in. So let's welcome in our guests, and just to remind people who you are and where you've come from, let's just go one at a time and introduce yourselves. So, Sophia, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm the founder of Ascent Strategy. I help female entrepreneurs create money-making brands, and I am currently living in Brooklyn, New York. I don't know if the last time we talked I was in Colorado,
You were in
but I just
Colorado, yeah.
moved back. Yeah, I just moved back to New York during the pandemic.
Oh boy, that must have been a fun adventure.
Very fun.
And you're getting blasted with snow, I hear, right now, too, right?
Yeah, so Colorado kind of followed me here.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally fun.
Nice. And Ellen Goodwin, will you introduce yourself again?
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm a productivity consultant. I help creative entrepreneurs overcome procrastination, build better habits, and be more focused so they can get their shit done.
Yeah. And if you guys recall, she's the reason that we potentially donate our money to parties that we don't like or groups that we don't like.
So far have successfully not donated any money to those organizations.
Keep it like that.
And
definitely.
Josh Schachnow, Canadian Josh.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Josh. I'm based out of Toronto, so snow is the norm here between December and March, April. I'm a fellow business podcaster. I've had actually 3 of the 4 people on this show on my own as well. So Sophia, we might have to get you on my show soon as well.
Yeah.
And by day, I operate an immigration tech company. I'm an immigration lawyer by day, and we're building a platform called Visto.ai. And this is a free platform automating the immigration process into Canada.
Awesome. Yeah, last time we talked, that was more or less an idea, and now you've got a domain and a sentence about it. You're seeing progress happening right before our eyes. It's fun. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone back. Thanks so much for coming back. if you out there have not heard of these people, then you missed their episode, and we'll have their episodes previously on the Unstuck Institute in the show notes for this episode, so you can go back and learn more about these wonderful people. But let's start this roundtable with the question. Instead of looking forward, let's first look uh, backward. Let's look to the past. What happened in 2020? And obviously, 2020 has been a hard year for a whole lot of people for a lot of different reasons. Um, but I'd like to, acknowledge that also, things happened and business got done, and I'm sure people, learned to pivot, or whether it was pandemic related or not, things happened, and the ball game changed as it went on in business. So I'm wondering for you guys, looking back, what's something that happened in 2020 that you learned from, and what did you learn, and how does that change the game for you? Chell, we'll start with you because you're the co-host. Give the others
Oh,
time to
too
think.
kind. All right. So I moved across the world. This is a little bit different because I usually just move like 3 states away. So this is a little bit different, having moved across the world during a pandemic in 2020. Um, I basically had to restructure my business because I wasn't able to do personal chefing and like working one-on-one with clients. Not only because it's a pandemic, but I also can't work that way here in Germany. Like my business license is still in the States, so it's fine for like an online consultation business, but I can't physically work here other than like working from home. So that was a big pivot in 2020 and kind of eye-opening because having kind of a brick and mortar. I mean, I never really had a shop per se, but like having a service-based business in the location where you live is one thing, and then having a business online is a whole different beast. So I think that's what 2020, that's kind of the biggest hurdle I had to overcome in 2020. And I mean, it's still an ongoing journey, but I'm learning a lot along the way. And I think that that's what's important.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, regular listeners will have heard your ongoing journey on Casual Fridays.
Yeah.
So,
Tuesday.
Ellen, would you like to go next? What happened in 2020 that you learned from?
Well, speaking business went away. One of the things I do is I go out. I speak to organizations, conferences, big groups of people. That isn't happening in person anymore. So that was a big change. We shifted to virtual, and virtual presentations are a lot different than being in the room and feeling the energy of the crowd and feeding off of it and being able to give one-on-one help afterwards. So that changed, and one of the great things was it also, because it became virtual, no longer was I limited to, okay, I don't want to be traveling to New York. Sorry, Sophia, but I don't want to be going to New York. And now it doesn't matter because all I have to do is go to the office, get everything set up, and speak from right where I am. And I always wear pants because you just never know. Just because it's virtual.
I think
I
some
coined
people
that
learned
term.
that.
Oh, go for it, Josh.
I was just going to say that I think a lot of people learned that this year, and some people learned that the hard way, to wear pants just in case.
We coined that term
optional.
We coined that term last year, though. I called it the millennial mullet, where you're like all fancy on top and you have like sweatpants on the bottom. That's what I'm rocking right now.
There you go. All right, Josh, how about you? What's 2020 done for you?
Yeah, 2020, I'd say, taught me that building and selling technology is a whole different ball game from selling non-technology or professional services. So, until this year, most of my experience and growth and revenue had all been from professional services, primarily in the legal space. And in 2020, we actually launched our portal for the first time in January. We relaunched a second version in May. And then a month ago, we launched our latest tool, which is an immigration calculator. And so it was pretty eye-opening for a wide variety of reasons. Number one, just the building of technology, the design that has to go into it, the process, the timelines, uh, everything, and then selling it, right? Especially when most technology, or a lot of early stage technology, you're trying to kind of create a new service offering, or something new that people haven't seen before, which means it's harder to sell because you have to teach people what it is and then convince them to actually purchase it. Whereas if you're a lawyer, you sell legal services. If you're a productivity coach, you sell productivity services, right? It's I'm not saying that stuff is easy, because that stuff's never easy either. But this was something I had no experience in, and so it was definitely a challenge. And I've learned probably more this year than like maybe ever before. And I'm happy with what we've come through, and hopefully it'll make things, every time you do it one additional time, it makes it a little bit easier the next time. So definitely been fun, and you got to keep things challenging, and so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Sophia, you're next.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's been the Black Lives Matter movement this year, like really impacted me. And I think for me, I'm someone who is in the day to day for a lot of startups and helping them build. And a huge component of my work is helping with execution and how feasible is it to help someone go from side hustle to a full-time business owner. And I've been a really privileged entrepreneur my whole life. Like, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. And it occurred to me this year with like all the conversations around Black Lives Matter, just like the amount of privilege I've had. And for me to push a narrative that is really telling people how easy it is to put the grit and perseverance aspect into a business and like stick to something, like I've come to realize how privileged of a statement that is to make, and how, what do I need to change in the way that I speak to my clients, that I speak to my audience in general through my content, for it to be a bit more sensitive to the reality of not many people are starting from the same baseline as me. Even though I'm a person of color, I still came with a lot of privilege to have persevered through 14 years of roller coaster startup building, right? So for me, it's been just like a huge realization and pivoting of how do I change my narrative and the way that I work with clients, so that I'm thinking more from the headspace of, for example, for the single mom who's starting a business, how do I help her create like a bridge plan between the goal, like dream business that she wants, and her current reality of like working a full-time job plus taking care of a kid plus building a business? How do I create a bridge plan that's more realistic to her during the execution phase? So for me, that's been just like a huge reflection and calling myself out and learning for me.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like, I've also had the thought with a lot of business coaches that I see online, or coaches about, yeah, mostly entrepreneurship, I guess. I've also had the thought, like, that's great for, somebody with, privilege, maybe no kids, maybe extra time, maybe extra money, but where's the person talking to the people who don't have that? So that could be huge for you, for people to find you because you're speaking their language as you pivot that direction. That's very cool.
What about you, Josh?
Um, so for me, I think personally, the Black Lives Matter movement definitely woke me up. Listeners know at one point I mentioned that I got divorced this year. So the first half of this year was just kind of getting through, and the Black Lives Matter movement woke me up to there are other people with other problems again, back to my normal empathetic self, as opposed to my self-pitying self. So that was good, because I would really say that the first half of the year I didn't do much. I didn't like intentionally do a lot for my business. But all that is to say, the big thing that came out of 2020 is I realized I have built a business, my IT service business, that that works, and it works without me really pushing it. It's an engine that runs, and it's an engine that makes me money if and when I show up. Um, because I've built enough clientele over the last 4 or 5 years that I don't have to push, I don't have to advertise, I don't have to network. I can disappear for half a year like I did, and still just sit in the office and people call me, which is fantastic to realize. Just like 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, how do I get clients? You know, how every business starts. You're like, how do I do this? And then you get one client, you're so excited, but then they don't call you back for a while, you know, because at least in my industry, it's like they'll come back, but hopefully not that often, because that would mean their computer's breaking way too much. And um, so it's really nice to reflect back and go, all that effort I've been putting in for years has resulted in a business that doesn't quite drive itself, but it's got some guardrails on it, and it runs, and that's great. Um, and so as we close out the year, I've been reinvested in it, and driving the train again, and having a train with inertia already in it has really been fun to like come back to, realize it's there, and jump on. So for me, it's just been, yeah, look at the results of all my hard work for years. Like that's working. Like don't forget to pat yourself on the back sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been here throughout your journey this year, and like, dude, from rock bottom to fucking killing it now. So 2020 was like shit for some people, but I feel like you had your shitty part and you're like, okay, done with this. Let's go. So
Yeah,
I'm happy that
2020 was shit from the beginning, and then the pandemic hit. I was like,
yeah, but that kind of brought us all down closer to your level.
I know. I was like, welcome everybody.
Okay.
Did you not realize 2020 was shit? Like, yeah. So, cool. Well, with that, let's shift focus into 2021. I know a lot of people have a lot of hopes on 2021, and obviously the calendar change from December 31st to January 1st is probably not going to do anything, but we can still hope that the year next year is better than the year it was this year for most people out there. But in terms of business, like, what are you guys in your own businesses? What are you thinking of doing? It could be related to what you just reported on that you've learned this year. It could be something different. It could be major shifts. It could be minor shifts. But what are you planning on doing? And kind of more importantly, how do you go about your planning? Like, what do you do, whether it be at the new year, which is what a lot of people do, we're coming up on, or whether it be on an ongoing basis, quarterly, monthly, whatever. Um, what are you guys doing to look at your business, see what's really going on, and then plan where the next steps need to go? As I was saying earlier, to drive your own train, right? So, Chel, once again, we'll start with you to give our guests time to think.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So my outlook on 2021 is balance. I have a tendency of go, 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 go. And actually, I perform really well at go, 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 go. But then I crash really hard. And then I also find that on the opposite end of the spectrum, like if I don't have a ton going on, I can chill, like Netflix and chill for multiple days at a time and like not do anything. So my goal for 2021 is balance, and that is both in personal life, in business, in it all, right? So my big goals for 2021 are having multiple offers with multiple price points. So not just having my kind of lofty online course, but also having things at like the midpoint range, and then a couple of things at the lower point range, so that I'm not just relying on one source of income within the business to make money. So I'm actually working on a couple of different options right now to bring in money, or to bring in clients and money below 100, kind of between the $100 to $200 level and then beyond. So that's like the small frame of what I'm working on for the new year. And like, obviously, guys, we'll check in and see if I've stayed on track with that. But that's kind of the outlook that I have for next year right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I've obviously checking in with you every week. I see the waveform of you go, 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 and then like burnout. Like I need Netflix for 3 days to recover from go, 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 go.
Yeah.
It sounds, yeah. If you can be more consistent about going, right, but not quite going so hard that you burn out,
Yeah,
that should
yeah,
work
definitely,
wonders for you, right?
definitely incorporating more self-care throughout the day.
Yeah. Anyone else have thoughts on Chell stuff before we move on? You don't have to, but I just figure.
No, I think balance is the key. Like balance is the hardest thing to figure out, in my opinion. It's the most subjective thing to figure out, right? Because not only is it hard in and of itself, but it's different for everybody. You might need 8 hours of sleep. I might need six. You might be able to work for 6 weeks straight. I might be able to work for 6 months straight. So it's like number one, you got to figure out balance in general. And then number two, you got to figure out what works best for you, put those all together. And then, especially if you're at a point where you're not happy with where your business is, then you're kind of giving yourself that internal pressure, like, well, I can sleep later. I need to make some money first type thing. So it's just all one big subjective balancing act is kind of how I've thought about it over the years.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so important. I don't know if I ever like shared this story, but when I burnt out from my second business, it took me 3 years to get back like on a balance
Wow.
level again. So
Wow.
yeah, balance is like everything.
Yeah.
There's your horror story to motivate you to balance right now, Chell.
Yeah.
Dude,
Do you want to take a break for 3 years?
No. Dude, I crashed for like 8 hours yesterday and I didn't start working until 6 p.m. And I was like, oh my God, this is rock bottom. But okay, I'm going to keep that in perspective.
Nope. There are more rocks further down. Sophia, so what are you looking on for 2021?
Yeah, so for me, I think that like in relation to my realization from 2021, like my theme is the word impact and just how to make more of it. So, uh, similarly, I'm also shifting my forces, like my focus more to courses. So I'm trying to kind of shift my business model so it's like 20% courses. So just like diversifying my revenue a bit more. Courses is going to be huge, and also it just allows me to extend my impact because the courses are cheaper than actually working with me personally. I'm also going to be building out basically like a scholarship fund for women who, so there's this person I've mentored since high school, and she actually grew up in like a really, really rough part of New York, and like just like a really, really terrible story of like how she grew up. And coincidentally, she's now building her own business and it's doing pretty well. And being able to stay connected with her and just like witness her story and challenges of being a person of color, a woman, and building a business. And there are very basic things that she doesn't have access to. Like she has no one in her network to ask questions about building a business and just what the reality is. She doesn't have access to courses and just even where to look for these answers to these questions she has. So, uh, for me, I'm going to, in the new year, just like open a scholarship fund where I guess it's not like a scholarship fund, so to speak, but I have to think of a better name for this. But I have a lot of courses that I sell to help women entrepreneurs excel in their sales. So to go from like a slump of making no sales to just like creating a sales engine, making more money. So making that available to basically recipients that are in a similar position as this woman I've mentored, someone who's comes from a rough background, who didn't have many of the resources I had growing up, and just giving them the opportunity to access these sales tools that when you don't have any connections, you just are not going to know where to find this stuff. So it's going to take a lot of organization, and there's going to be a lot of work on my end to just like build a Facebook group that like allows people to build community around this, to accept like 20 plus people into this like program of just like giving them free information and just making sure that by the time they graduate, they really feel like they are now ready to take on the world with their business. So impact is just huge for me this year. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time building that in the new year, so I'm excited for that. But I think for 2021, for the first time ever, I'm not putting a financial goal towards my business.
Mm.
I've done that forever, and I just came to the realization this year that it doesn't mean anything when you, at least for me, it hasn't meant anything for me in the past couple of years to just like put a financial number of this is the number I'm going to hit this year. It hasn't been meaningful. It makes you feel like crap when you don't hit it at the end of the year. So for me, I'm going to focus more on, if I want to improve my business, what are the 5 execution steps I need to take, and have that just be a goal of like, I want to do more courses. I want to open the scholarship fund, and those are the goals, and that's it. No numbers, no nothing, no silly expectations of what the world, how the world defines what success to be, which is metric based, versus my definition of success, which is diversifying my revenue sources, opening the scholarship fund. So just like creating a system for me that's a bit more effective, personal, versus letting go of these success metrics that society has taught me like I should care about.
Yeah. It
I
it
love
sounds
that.
to me too like it's something that you have control over. Like not only is it more important to
Mm-hmm.
you than a financial figure, but like the financial figures, a lot goes into whether we make as much money as we thought we would next year, right? But whether you do the work to launch your course, or whether you do the work to do the scholarship fund or any of that, that's entirely up to you, you know. And so that also,
Totally.
I really like hearing those goals because it sound like, yeah, that's something you can, if you don't hit them, you can look back on them, and you, for the most part, there's always extenuating circumstances, but you only have yourself to blame usually with those, right?
Right.
Did you put the
Totally.
work in?
Totally. Exactly.
Anyone else? Any thoughts on that?
I'm very similar when it comes to approaching numbers. If it makes sense, then yeah, throw some numbers down, but very similar. I have no idea what our sales or et cetera are going to look like in 12 months, and it probably wouldn't be worth my time to try and guess. So, yeah, I very much agree with that approach.
And I'm right on board too, because I always think about, the proverb, man plans, God laughs. And you can plan out all of it, and think of the people that had like this amazing year planned for 2020, and hello pandemic. So I always have an idea of where I want to go, but I'm not going to make myself crazy if it doesn't happen. It doesn't, as long as I know I worked as hard as I could towards it. So I feel the same way. No planning.
Yeah, I absolutely look at my numbers. I go as deep in the numbers as I have to make sure that the budget works. Like I'm not planning on spending way more money than I make, and I'm planning on making enough money to pay my own bills and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, as far as financial like goals, like growth means increasing revenue 20%. Like I don't. That's where I stop too. I'm like, I don't, whatever. You know, I just want to make sure that like the numbers kind of work out, that I'm not so far removed that I end up losing a bunch of money or something. Um, but yeah, sounds like we're all kind of agreed on that. That's an interesting consensus to note, because I think all you hear on online and stuff is like, oh, companies have to grow by this margin, and it's all about the revenue, you know. So, all right, Josh, what about you for 21?
Yeah, it's a good segue. I mean, my focus is revenue. So,
Yes.
now obviously a little bit different, right? If you're, a publicly traded company or something like that, then you might have to keep a close eye on those numbers and be a little bit more careful. We are far from a publicly traded company, but we are at a point where we spent most of 2020 building, and now what we need to do in 2021 is to prove that what we've built can make money, to kind of grow as a company and prove our concept so that we can continue building more and more. So yeah, kind of ironic. I I don't have a hard number in mind. We are definitely going to be keeping a good close eye on monthly revenue, especially what's happening month over month. I'd say the first 6 months are going to be huge for us in terms of the long-term outlook of the company. Our goal is to basically grow quick enough so that we can do a subsequent fundraise. We did a small fundraise last summer, and now we're looking to take the company to the next step, which means you actually do have to show, big enough growth numbers or user numbers, volume numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't have a hard number in mind as per our previous discussion, but we will definitely be pushing hard in marketing for the first half of the year, optimizing A/B testing, et cetera, to ramp up revenue as quickly and as much as we can, and then we'll see from there. I mean, a big goal would be a big fundraise so that we can continue growing and growing our team, building our product, and all that fun stuff. So that's the focus.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point too. That companies that fundraise generally have to look and report in such a way that drives that engine forward in a very different way than like me and my solopreneur service-based business, where I'm just bootstrapped all the way. But yeah, that's an interesting delineation, is the people who have to fundraise because they have to build something expensive first, right? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're at the point where we've, the first raise was enough to kind of build what we had in mind. Now we've built it. Now, if we want to kind of get to the next level of investors or the investment sum that we're looking to get, we have to show them that we can make enough money. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. Again, just last year I learned how to build. This year, the focus will be on learning how to scale. So if anyone has any insight, feel free to let me know.
That's like literally my job. So
yeah, you do need
There
to
we
have
go.
Sophia on your podcast.
Found my next
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah, we'll just like talk about sales the whole time.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, like maybe to like give you bite-sized advice or feedback. Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing I like hammer to my audience is, even if you're a tech product, like even if you sell like funeral services, like whatever it is, what consumers want right now is they want to be courted. Like they want to be, especially because now we're even more so this year, like are living in this like one-dimensional world of how we're connecting to each other. Like we're so desperate for connection. So I always tell people that are trying to scale, they're bringing something to market, like you have to have fun while you're figuring out the marketing and sales side, and in the execution of that, it has to be fun. Otherwise, that means your customers aren't having fun either. There needs to be a courtship there where you are literally flirting your ass off when you're selling whatever it is that you're selling. And if no one is biting when you do that, then you are not putting your best foot forward. You need to go back to scratch as far as like, thinking of it almost like a dating profile. Like, what am I putting out there, and why aren't people like coming back at me saying like, whoa, I love what you're doing. Let's move forward with this. But yeah. Just like a quick way to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, great advice. Ellen, what about your 21?
Oh, my 2021. Well, I'm going to go as Sophia had a word for her year, and I have two. Well, actually, it shows up with three, but create and support. And the create would be on my end, creating programs, courses. I'm doing a workbook for my book, but creating things that then will support the people that need to know how to get things done, that are having problems, that just haven't locked it in. And whatever way I can support them, that is what I'm going to really focus on this year. I start the year off with a January Jumpstart accountability group. I mean, I do it for myself. So I invite other people to come in and join me and just get the year off to a good start. And that for me is supporting people as they're trying to figure out what their reality looks like. And everyone's different. And so it's not, I don't have a group that's like, oh, we're gonna lose weight this month. No, I don't care. You can be losing weight. You can be writing a book. You can, whatever. But it's my job to support you and give you the tools that you can use. I mean, it's just like you guys took the tool of betting against yourself and giving money if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And so it's my job to just support people by seeing where they're having issues and offer up ideas, different solutions, because one size does not fit all when it comes to getting your stuff done. So my year is definitely about just creating and supporting people. And creation, like I said, it can be anything. It's going to be giving more speeches, but creating things that will really, really help people to get their stuff done.
That's a
I
great
love that
goal
approach.
that's a great goal for you for 21, because we don't know if and when public in-person speaking gigs are going to come back, right? But you're just going to create, and the pandemic will dictate where you're giving those speeches, right? But you're still going to be able to.
And it won't just be speeches. There'll be courses. There'll be
Yep.
all the stuff that people can reach out. One of my podcast partner just created a company designed to help remote workers, and all it is it's resources, and it's here's the best desks you can get, here's coaches that can help you, and the whole idea is we just have to help each other more now than ever.
I think that's a huge takeaway from 2020, right? Just be supportive, help each other, reach out, make sure that your friend is alive at the very base level. Yeah, totally. Right, Josh.
I saw a news article the other day on some paper, I forget which one, but they were saying that like in 2020, unfortunately, depression has become highly normalized, and that's a good reason as any to make sure you check in with people, whether they be business relationships, friends, podcast guests. Like it's so needed, as Sophia so elegantly has said. I think the relationships have become very one-dimensional in this world, and I'm looking at all you, and you're all flat on my screen. And so there needs to be some extra effort to reach out in any sort of relationship, whatever the context of that is. All right, for me, I would say one of the things I learned in 2020 that I'm really going to apply to 21 is condensing my efforts. I'm really good. I have what I call ooh shiny syndrome, or a professional lack of focus. Uh, and so I do a lot of things. But I could be in the middle of this huge launch for this thing and then be like, yeah, but this cool opportunity came up for this other thing that I haven't touched in 3 months, and that's what I do. So, obviously at the core of me, what makes money, the engine that drives everything in my life financially, is JBit Tech. That's the IT service company. But all these other projects are very exciting. Like Sophia was saying earlier, like diversifying your income streams is a great idea, and that's what I'm up to in my thinking. But I can't do like 5 startups at the same time, and at least I can, and I can't do them effectively, I should say. and and so I think I'm refocusing on JBit as the money making engine that is very stable now and great, and can also lightly fund some other side projects, which is amazing. So I'm focusing on making sure that doesn't fall off, like, because it's stable, and stable's kind of like boring compared to ooh shiny, right? So I don't want it to be like so boring that I'm like, and then it falls apart, and then I got no income while I'm trying to build something else. So So I think for me, it's looking at JBIT always has to happen. And then very intentionally for a week, for a month, for a quarter, depending on how the project is, I can pick another side project, but I can't pick 2 or 3 or 5 because it's just not going to work. So I think that's how I'm looking at 21 is planning out what I can from here on which part of the year I want to focus on what things. But also like in my weekly check-ins with Chel, what you're going to hear on the podcast is I'm going to be like, this week I'm focusing on only this side project, right? And I'm going to leave it up to Chel to call me out when I'm like, I'm going to do these 3 things because I will.
happily will.
And she'll be like, no. So I think that's my biggest thing is focus and very intentionally setting what I'm going to focus on for the upcoming whatever week, month, etc. And my goal at the end of the year is that one of my side projects will start making money at a pace where it's like an official revenue stream, and it's like a project. And then of course I'm always the type of person that's going to have a new idea and want to do a new thing. So then I think 2022 and beyond becomes, or if it happens really fast, it might be 21 and beyond, becomes hiring and hiring well so that the things I've built continue with a little less focus from me if I'm looking at something else. I think that's my idea in a rough nutshell.
I'm happy that the last 2 weeks have solidified that for you, because
yes,
being everywhere and not like 100% in every direction has been challenging to watch from a passenger side point of view. But I'm happy that
I have
that's
what
your
Chel
goal.
has. I go, but I'm going in 5 directions. And then burn out in Netflix. Awesome. Any other thoughts or insights about any of that? Nope. Cool. I have one more question to wrap us all up, which is, what is just the best advice you have for any and all entrepreneur types? It can be related to something we've already talked about. It can be something totally different. It can be something that a mentor once said to you. It can be something for someone just starting out a business, someone who's been a solopreneur for years and is working on leveling up. Whatever it is, it's all fair game. But what is like the number one advice that you would tell people who are in business and looking forward to a great 2021? Chel, as always, you have to think fast.
So I wish I had done this early on. I'm a people pleaser, so this kind of just comes inherently, but I wish I had learned to say no occasionally. For the first, I don't know, God knows how many years of my business, I said yes to every opportunity that came my way, even if that was to the detriment of me doing something for my business to better it. So like I would take on side projects to help people because I'm a people pleaser. So if that is your personality, I highly recommend that you learn how to say no, or at least no sometimes. You don't have to say yes to everything. And even when you're first starting out, I know people always say that like it's really good to say yes to everything. And I think to some extent it is, but remember, going into being an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever you want to be, like you are in control of what you want your business to be and how you want to portray your business, how you want to work, when you want to work. So remember that you have control over all of that. So you don't have to say yes all the time. It took me, oh my God, I've had my business for 4 years now, and only now am I starting to say no, or no, I charge for that. I did a lot of things for free in the past, thinking that clients would just come flocking from them, and that's not usually the case. So I think just being cognizant of what you're saying yes to. Is it something that aligns with you, your business, your goals, or is it something that's going to hinder you from getting from point A to point B? And like I know point A to point B is not necessarily a straight line. We talked about this early on in our podcast. It might have been like episode like 7. Do you remember this, Josh? Like the way to point A to point B is like there's a lot of ups and downs, like a lot of squiggles in between. But like if there's something hindering you or not aligning with you from getting from point A to point B, like it's probably not worth your time. So all of that to say no sometimes.
No. Yeah, I'm just practicing.
Excellent.
All right.
Good job.
Josh, what do you got?
What do I got? I would say, especially in line with 2020, is that just don't be afraid of, but understand the difficulty that it takes in building a successful business of whatever size, right? Success is, I think Sophia talked about it earlier, success is subjective. But keep pushing, right? So acknowledge the difficulty, but don't let it scare you. And I learned that in a few ways. I mean, number one was we all went through 2020, right? That in and of itself is, I think, a lesson for anybody who ran their own business, unless you're, the CEO of Zoom or Slack or Shopify. So that's number one. Number two, I mean, like episode 86 of my podcast just went live, and I still haven't had a guest on who had an easy journey to success, right? So it's just like a nice repetition in my head of, no, there's no easy way. There's no easy way. There's no easy way. You have to work for it. But then at the other end of the spectrum, like a lot of really amazing things also have come out of this year, came out of previous recessions, previous, economic crises and global crises. So acknowledge it and don't be afraid of it. And I don't know, I think 2021 could be very opportunistic in the most positive of ways for a lot of people if you keep your eyes open and look for good opportunities and work hard and be honest and just give it your best. I don't know. That's all we can do, right? At the end of the day. To end it on a corny note. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ellen, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm going to go with a quote from the late Warren Zevon, which is enjoy every sandwich. And while he wasn't saying that in reference to business, I do think it just applies to everything because we only get one life. And if you're not enjoying the sandwich that you're in, the things you're doing, then maybe you step back and look at what will make you enjoy it. And on the other hand, enjoy the journey. If this is what you want to be doing, then enjoy the rough parts. Just enjoy those boring sandwiches and enjoy those crazy off the wall sandwiches. So, enjoy that learning process of, putting up a sales page that makes you crazy or technology that makes you crazy. Just enjoy it. And if you're not, then you move on. But stop and think about it and enjoy every sandwich.
I love that piece of advice. But in my world, every sandwich needs to be delicious.
Extra meaning for you, Chel.
Those food metaphors don't always land the same way with Chel, Sophia, how about you?
Ellen, I love that. I think mine is very similar to Ellen, where I think for this year, like myself included, and a lot of my friends and a lot of entrepreneur friends, we all went through a lot of hard moments this year where, there were moments for a lot of us where there just wasn't an out. There wasn't a solution that was going to fix things. And for me, a word that like I've had to put into practice multiple times is the word surrender. Like there are going to be times where there's just no answer, there's no solution. And what you're meant to experience in this moment is to surrender to the lesson and just ride it out and experience the crappy experience that you want to fight through, but in actuality, you have to experience it. You need to experience those moments that make you cry, that make you frustrated, that make you question why you even got into entrepreneurship in the first place. Why in the world do you have a business right now? All those questions. there are those moments you have to just like you like live the word surrender and just like steep in that. And yeah, and I think like for me that's like my biggest piece of advice for anyone listening is like we often are told to hustle, like grind through it and figure it out, but not many of us are told like sometimes you just have to surrender and that's it.
That's
Girl, you just
great
spoke.
advice.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
You got Chel snapping over there. My goodness. You know it's good if Chel's snapping. For me,
All right, Josh,
I would
how are you going to
say,
beat that?
oh, I don't know. I can't beat it. I would say that for me, no matter where you are in your journey as a human, let alone as a business person, is just remember to practice empathy, because like we kind of talked about a little earlier, everyone needs a little help sometimes, and just try to help people. Turns out in business, you can generally get paid for helping people, which is awesome. Um, but like Celestina said, sometimes say no, but say no empathetically. See if you can turn them to a place where they can get a yes that they need. See if you can help them in a way that you're capable of. And the more we practice empathy with anyone we're dealing with, I think the more success we will all have. So that's my advice for anyone at any stage.
That was beautiful as well,
Well
Josh.
said.
Yes, I didn't get you snapping, but hey, I'll take it. All right. With that, we are just about at time. So we want to start wrapping up episode 100 of the Unstuck Institute podcast. I don't know about you, Chubb. When we
Congrats.
started,
Fantastic.
100 sounded just so far away, like that was never going to happen. And here we are. It just kind of snuck up on us. We were like, oh, we should do something. We're going to have triple digits soon. So thanks, Sophia and Josh and Ellen, for joining us again and helping us celebrate episode 100. Let's just do the quick podcast wrap up. Where can people find you and more about you? Now, Chel, do you have something first?
I do. I have 3 rapid fire questions that you completely ignored, and they are fantastic.
I ignored? I don't remember these, but just go for it.
They're on the... Okay, Josh. Okay, guys. So I'm going to give you 3 questions right in a row, and then we'll all take turns. We'll go Ellen, Canadian Josh, Sophia, Josh, and then me answering it. You guys got that? Like a zigzag on my screen. You got
Great.
that? Okay. So first question, I'm just going to ask them. I'm going to say them all, and then we're going to go through, and you guys are going to say your answers. Dogs or cats? Coffee or tea? Who is your spirit, or rather, what is your spirit animal? Ellen, go.
Whoa. Cat, tea, and a rhinoceros.
Okay. Canadian Josh.
Dog, tea. I don't know, something that's lazy and doesn't move all that much.
Sloth?
Sloth.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Sophia.
Okay, dog, tea, and jaguar.
Okay. Josh.
Nice.
Much better answer.
I'm going to go dog, tea, dog. Dog, because they can lay on their belly or their backs to get their belly scratched. I like that.
Excellent. Dog, coffee, Betty White.
Oh, the coffee drinker.
Yeah, you guys are all tea drinkers. What the hell?
Coffee's gross.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that was fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks for just going along with that. I appreciate it.
Hey, that was great. I'm sorry I did not have the notes in front of me to see that you were. Hey, that's why it's casual on Casual Friday. All right. As I was saying before, let's wrap this up podcast style. Where can people find you and more about you, Sophia?
My website's ascent-strategy.com, and I'm really active on Instagram. My Instagram is Ascent with Sophia.
Awesome. Canadian Josh.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on. And the best is probably just follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just make sure to spell my last name right, but there's nobody else with the same one, so it shouldn't be too hard to find me. You can check out our website at visto.ai, or if you want to check out my business podcast as well, it's at solopreneurgrind.com.
Excellent. Ellen Page Goodwin.
So, thanks for having me, even if you couldn't remember my name. That's okay.
Damn.
You can find me. My website is ellengoodwin.com. Like Canadian Josh, I'm over on LinkedIn. And my podcast is the Faster, Easier, Better Show. So check it all out.
Excellent. And Chel, where can people find you not related to the Unstuck Institute?
On Instagram at chef_RDN, but that's probably going to change. So
check the show notes and we'll update the links accordingly.
We'll do that.
All right. And I'm Josh on Instagram at Vanilla Bean. We are the Unstuck Institute at unstuck.institute, no.com. We are on Instagram at unstuck.institute. This has been a Casual Friday Roundtable, episode 100. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. And have a good, hopefully safe end to 2020. And we'll see you in 2021. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya.